and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wild. Today we are talking about Gen X or older. You have to be on the phone with them the whole way. Customer compares Gen Z Postmates driver to older drivers. Okay, so on one hand, I'm not always, and I have never really been, somebody who has justified any kind of discrimination, whether it's gender, race, age, what have you. But on the other hand, this seems like a fun war to get into because every generation is so territorial. So with that said, I want to go over what is being said in this article, how it actually is for gig workers of millennials, baby boomers, Gen X and Gen Z, and everything in between. So with that said, let's get started. This is going to be great. A TikToker breaking down Postmates delivery by generation asserted that Gen Z drivers have it on lock. While if you draw a Gen X driver, you probably bought dinner for the guy 2 streets over. Now hold on a second. We've covered Gen Z and Gen X. We haven't covered baby boomers because they're older than Gen X, but we haven't even mentioned millennials yet. Come on. I feel like that's not fair. I feel like they're doing that on purpose. I don't know if age has a lot to do with how a delivery driver delivers. Like, I feel like some generations just don't get technology, but it's pretty self-explanatory for the most part, or at least I think so as a millennial. The video comes from creator Bailey, who has attracted more than 406,000 views as of March 12th. The things you do for content, huh? I'm going to leave her TikTok as well as her profile in the description so you can develop your own opinions on the subject. I'm so sick of hearing about Gen Z in the workplace. She begins, tell me why every single time I order Postmates and I see the person who has my order is under 25, I know it's going to be delivered 10 to 15 minutes early, no questions asked. They're not even trying to contact me. They're leaving it off to the side, plenty of room to grab it. You know, I do have to say this, Gen Z and millennials in the workplace just have the hardest time dealing with all the discrimination against them. It's amazing. For as many years as possible, boomers and some members of Gen X have always said, oh, no one wants to work these days. No one's really working these days. Yet we do work and we're still considered lazy, even though we're not even being paid for the way we're supposed to be paid. Like, what's going on? In fact, that's a lot of reasons right there why people end up full-timing food delivery or even thinking about full-timing food delivery, because that concept alone is so stressful. And then when you finally leave those type of work environments, they just go, oh, you see? They don't want to work anymore. Yet in reality, we were working harder than all of you combined. But you guys just wanted to make it sound like we weren't doing anything. What is with that? That's why you have movements like quiet quitting. Why you have things like rage applying. No matter how many times you rebrand them, they are there because they're tired of the nonsense. And now Gen Z, millennials, really everybody has more options and opportunities than ever that are outside of the workplace. So you brought that upon yourself. She then says that for millennial Postmates drivers, it's a different prospect. Millennials got my order. They're probably going to deliver it on time, but they're going to block my entire screen door. So in order for me to grab my food, I'm losing my drink, she says. I have to knock my drink over to get the food. Okay, that's kind of messed up. I am a millennial, by the way. I'm making sure that the order is near the door, but not in front of the door. So I don't think that's a generational thing. I think that's people doing people things, you know? But she's not a fan of Gen X, judging by her generalization that group of drivers. Gen X has it, it's a wrap, she claims. I'm not gonna get to eat that night. I probably brought dinner for the guy 2 streets over. The food's not making it to me. So they assume that Gen X people just deliver it to the wrong door all the time. No, that's not a generational thing. at all. Commenters shared their views on the matter. People above 25 always disregard the leave at the door setting. One shared, they literally call my phone until I physically grab it from their hand. Okay, that's possible. Every time that I've had delivery and they knock on the door instead of leave it at the door, even though I have it set to leave it at the door, it's always somebody of an older generation. And it's always somebody who is super talkative and wants to talk my ear off, but I'm hungry as hell and I just kind of wanted a contactless delivery. So can you just shut up so I can eat now? Thank you. So I kind of see what they're going with that, but it's not above 25. It's more like above 45. That is like a Gen X baby boomer thing. Another recounted, I literally had a guy who biked across San Francisco with my order when I had a drink and soup noting I still got my food. Okay, but seriously, think about that for a second. Not a single moment was an age mentioned. So we don't even know if that was Gen Z, Millennial, Gen X, or Boomer. That led the creator to provide another contrast writing. Gen Z will get my food to me faster on their bike than a Gen X in a 6-cylinder with maps open. Okay, I will say this about Gen X and baby boomers. They didn't grow up in a world where things were digital. They grew up in a world where everything was physical maps and technology wasn't a normalcy for them. In fact, millennials are in an interesting position because we went from being born in an analog world and then growing up into the digital world. Smartphones kind of came out for millennials in their teenage years. Gen Z kind of always had it. Now, there is one point to be said about Gen Z getting food to you faster. They are younger. They are naturally faster with their driving and their biking. They just want to be faster. But that's because of their age, not necessarily their generation. When I was in my 20s, I was always driving unreasonably fast. I may or may not do that now, but I plead the fifth on that. One commenter, presumably speaking for Gen Z, offered a simple, the bug is the feature explanation, writing, it's the anxiety. I think you could apply that to millennials too, though, because both of our generations have literally grown up through a huge amount of once-in-a-lifetime events, and there's never really been a season of just slowing down and just relaxing and less stress environment. Seriously, we haven't even been able to count the number of ridiculous things that have happened since we have started to realize that the world is the world. Now, I'm sure you could say the same thing about baby boomers and Gen X to a certain degree, but I definitely see how the anxiety is more towards Gen Z than it is towards millennials at the moment, because I think that a lot of millennials are at that point in their life to where they just don't give a rip. Like, once you hit your 30s, you just stop caring about everything. Another Gen Z representative offered another theory as to why they win the creators Postmates sweepstakes. It's cause I got a J and good music. Life is a video game and getting it there ASAP is the mission. I mean, I feel like that's a good way to look at it. Like a very Gen Z way to look at it, but a good way to look at it. Like, I always thought that life was a game and it's all about how you play it, and I guess that's more of a Gen Z way of saying it. So I guess that's pretty cool, for a lack of a better way to put it. Yet another had a specific video game in mind, sharing, I went with my 19-year-old cousin to do Doordash once, and I felt like I was in GTA. Yo, I am so glad I'm not the only one who thought that. Usually when I'm Doordashing or UberEats driving or Grubhub driving, or even any kind of delivery, I feel like I'm driving like I stole my own car. Like I'm playing Grand Theft Auto and I'm just trying to get things done, you know? But again, I'm a millennial, so I don't know if that counts. Some commenters just came in to pile on to Gen X with a user writing, Gen X or older, you have to be on the phone with them the whole way from the restaurant because they can't follow a GPS to save their life. I don't know if that's the case, but I do know that Gen X and baby boomers, and actually some older millennials, including myself sometimes, to be perfectly honest with you, sometimes feel like they don't need the GPS because they know exactly where they're going, and in reality, reality, they don't really know what they're going. They have a general idea, but they can end up messing up that general idea so many ways over. A Gen Xer delivered my Uber Eats an hour late, and all I ordered was a cheese quesadilla from Taco Bell down the street, one recalled. Okay, but here's the thing. Is that an Uber Eats driver thing? Is that a Gen X thing? Or is that you didn't tip your driver thing, so it ended up coming to you late and you just want to blame the generation? I think that's the latter. Another shared, my Gen X dad doesn't believe in GPS. He said he grew up without it and knows where everything is in my city. He can never find anything. Like I said, there are some generations and some people that just feel like they know exactly where they're going, and yet they don't. Honestly, pro tip, just go with the GPS. You're better off anyway. This is my opinion. It's worth what you pay for it. None of you pay me. There you go. A lot of things that were mentioned here aren't exactly a generational thing. Oh, the Gen Xer didn't deliver my Taco Bell order that was right down the road. Did you tip your driver? Or was it an hour late because he was a Gen Xer? I think you didn't tip your driver. The millennials are always putting the order in front of the door. No, that's not a millennial thing. That's a doer driver or dumb driver thing. Because I'm millennial and I make sure you get a wide berth whenever you're getting your delivery. Now, I will say some older generation people don't like contactless delivery. They feel this undying need to ignore the point of leave it at the door. That is a thing that needs to be addressed. But Gen Z, I definitely see how they would be seen as the fastest driver. They're the one that's getting their order as quickly as possible. But again, I don't think that's a Gen Z thing. I think that's they're in their 20s and they naturally do drive fast thing. Baby boomers out here, there are two different kinds. The baby boomers that drive fast, like Ricky Bobby, and then there are baby boomers that drive like Mr. Magoo. They're all leaning forward, they're close to the wheel, and yet they still can't see over the hood of their car, and they drive really slow, half of the speed limit in the left lane. Like, that's unreasonable. But you know what? This was fun to read, and I gotta hear from you. Which is the best generation in terms of delivery? Let me know in the comments. I want to see everybody chip in their opinions because this is gonna be fun. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!